Hey everyone, welcome to the Fantasy Endgame. Thanks for joining. We're here to draft and mock it up. We've been doing this all off season, so thanks for joining us. Hopefully, y'all can join and draft with us. Now, I always say this because it's still true. You can get in early, and we already have a couple people in the draft besides Chris and myself, and that's because they joined the flock. You can too if you go to flockfantasy.com/endgame. Then you get access to the Discord and the link that's coming out in about 1 minute on this very stream. You can get in early, get your spot, and mock draft with us. And that's good all off season long. I guarantee you, before too long, these drafts will fill up even quicker. That's right. They'll be probably fill up before we even get online. So I'm just telling you, get ahead of the game, do it now. Also, you notice that we talk about building dynasties a lot. That's what we're doing. We're in the middle of a dynasty startup draft right now with you, the community, and we're filling more leagues. So if you want to get in on that draft, again, with us, against us, and compete in a dynasty league where you have a chance to win a $100 prize with no entry fee. And oh, by the way, learn how to dominate in Dynasty and build a champion. So that way, when you play in other Dynasty leagues, you already have a massive advantage. So all of that, if you go to flockfantasy.com/endgame, and right now, 30% off any subscription. It's not going to last forever. So again, this is the time to take advantage of it. So tonight, mocking, but not a Dynasty mock. What's the setup for tonight?
Yeah, so tonight we're just doing I call it our typical. I don't want to downplay it. It's still awesome, but our typical one QB, two running back, three wide receiver, one tight end, one flex, full PPR redraft league, and we are half full. We are half full. So you were talking about it. These things are. I mean, we're barely in June. We're already half full, guys. Like it's gonna get to a point where we're just gonna start the stream and just start drafting because this thing's gonna be full right when we come on air. So. Definitely want to get in there if you can. But we got 6 spots with 24 people. This is going to be interesting.
Well, all I can say is hope you have your little automated processes ready or some trick of the trade. But good luck for those who are waiting. Hopefully, y'all get in. And some of the people who are already in there, our guys in our dynasty league, guys are fiends. Just can't get enough drafting. So let's see. Is that
we got we got Dollar Bill is in the house. Dollar Bill is in the house. What is up, Bill?
Bill? Long time no draft. All right, Bill. If that is you, the dollar bill, then you definitely have to drop a comment at some point. But we're ready, so let's get it started.
All right, Alter Nico on the clock. What is up, Dollar Bill?
Yep,
He is indeed here.
Like ODB, but the DDB, dirty dollar bill. What is up, guys? Let's see. Trying to see who else. Got some and Andrea's in the house, and then sorry, no, it's Kjar Tanyani, who's on the clock right now. The return of Dan Campbell.
The return of Dan Campbell. All right, so pretty standard start here with these 4 wide receivers. Now the question is, what do you do with the 5? All right.
That's the wrong running back to take first. Am I right, Singer?
All right, what does Anthony do here? Ooh, Eckler. All right. Now Diggs. Interesting. Interesting middle here.
Tempting me. Well, you know what? I think I have to do it.
Gotta do it. Gotta do it there. All right, let's see Bill. First draft of the offseason, at least with us. What do we got here? Adams.
Taking his Raiders. He's a Raiders fan.
He is a Raiders fan. Well, I will happily take CD here. No problem.
That's pretty good value. Get him at the 10.
Yeah, I will happily take CD at the 10 every single time. Kelsey at the turn for Keith. Kelsey, AJ Brown. That is a nice start. That's a nice start.
Stinger with a question. Stinger, I guess, didn't get in. Oh yeah, he did get it. He's the 2, but sorry, I don't know. I missed you, but let's get to that. It's your turn after you pick. Give your take
I'm debating. I mean, there's a few guys I like here. Between 2 guys. Which one? Doesn't even matter. That was close. Oh, sniped you. Just sniped you. Bill just sniped you.
Yeah, I see that. All right, now I got to.
Is it crazy that you were considering CD over Chase? Yes. As much as I like CD, I'm never going to take him over Chase. Never.
Yeah, I mean, I like CD, but no, I don't see him having that type of ceiling. I mean, it's close. It's not like there's a big gap between the two, but I mean, are we really seeing that CD could be the number 1 or 2 overall scorer in fantasy?
Like, when I look at Chase and CD, and by the way, I was going to take Olave. It was between Olave and St. Brown for me. When comparing like CD and Chase, and I love CD, but like Chase, we know has that top 1, top 2 potential. CD, we're still hoping he'll have that potential. So why take the guy that we're hoping when you can just take the guy who's got it?
Yeah, exactly. It's not even it's not anything against CeeDee Lamb or that he couldn't do this. It's like there's really no argument, no way you can really justify not taking Chase. It's like there's really no way you can excuse not taking Justin Jefferson. You know what I mean? There's just not.
Yeah. So Sam asking earliest you would draft Olave. I was strongly considering Olave where I took St. Brown. It's very close with those 2 guys for me, and very close.
It is close. I mean, I do think a little bit to some extent that Jameson Williams' 6-game absence kind of helps keep that floor super high for Sun God. I mean, he already was a high floor guy. You know, Olave, you got to look at a little bit more of his upside, right? I mean, going to be the wide receiver 1 in New Orleans, and then as soon as Michael Thomas goes down, right, there's no debate there. But it's a little, to some extent, risk reward, you know, and floor ceiling. But I think probably where I took him, like that's about right. I don't know that I'm taking him earlier. And some people are saying, oh, his ADP is so crazy, and he's like not a 1st-round pick. Well, we're not taking him in the 1st round. I think mid-second is about right. I don't want to take him like early 2nd, assuming that at least some running backs get taken.
Yeah, and I don't understand, like, why aren't we taking these guys? Like, who are you take? Like, okay, you could maybe argue A.J. Brown over Garrett Wilson. I think it's an argument. I'm not saying it's my argument, but I'm saying it's an argument. Maybe St. Brown, maybe Waddle, but then who? Then who are you saying over him? I mean, like T. Higgins, Devonta Smith, DK Metcalf. I mean, definitely Drake London. Like, you know what I mean? Like, where are you going to draft these guys? Like, you going to take DK Metcalf over these guys? You're going to take, as much as I love Devonta Smith and T. Higgins, like, you're going to take those guys? Like, I don't think so. I just don't think so. So,
yeah, and I remember Kyle saying there's no way he's drafting Garrett Wilson or Olave in the 1st or 2nd round. But again, I mean, okay, you can say that. Weren't a lot of people saying that last year about like Devontae Smith, right? Because like, oh, AJ Brown's there now. Jalen Hurts, they're trying to get rid of him, and what's Devontae Smith going to do? Well, I think Devontae Smith was pretty good last year, even as the number 2 guy. Olave is going to be the number 1 guy in that offense. Sorry, he just is. Garrett Wilson is undisputed number 1 guy, and he did get an upgrade at quarterback. Regardless of what you think about Aaron Rodgers and his arm these days, it's definitely an upgrade. So I don't see why you really would be worried. To some extent, Jalen Waddle too. A lot, right? Tyreek Hill's there. Jalen Waddle's not going to be. He's not worth an early pick. I think he was okay. He was okay.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess if you're going to take it, you could say, okay, well, I'd rather have like Barkley or Jacobs or whatever. Okay, that's fine. But if we're just talking about the wide receivers, like I don't see how you can take like you're going to take Amari Cooper over those guys. Or you're going to take Christian Watson over those guys. I mean, I'm not.
Yeah, I don't see. I mean, maybe Devontae Smith. Okay, if you're taking Devontae Smith over Olave, I'm not complaining about that. T. Higgins, but why? I mean, I wouldn't hate it, but I don't know why you would take Higgins over Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, I remember these guys had 1,100 yards as rookies with horrible quarterback play. Horrible quarterback play, both of them. Now Garrett Wilson gets a really good QB upgrade, and even Chris Olave gets a very good. I mean, look at what Devontae Adams did with Derek Carr. Like Derek Carr just locked on to Devontae Adams. Do we really think like he's gonna lock on to Michael Thomas for 1.5 games or whatever before he stubs his toe and he's out for the season? Or and I like Rashid Shaheed, but he's also a rookie or was a rookie last year who really only played a few games and really only did something in a few games. Like, I just these guys are studs. Yeah, and I mean, this is fair. This is what I'm saying. Like, if you're like, hey, I just would rather take a running back there, that's fair. That's totally fair. Like, I totally get that.
Yeah, that's fine. I haven't taken a lot of Debo lately. I feel like this is a good spot for him.
All right. Well, I was thinking about running back, but with Ramondre gone, I don't think so now. I don't know. This is another close one where it's like, who do I prefer? I like him just a little bit more. It's close there. That was another close one for me.
Yeah, we're in this range now where I don't know exactly who to put over who. I mean, I got some guys in mind. It feels a little early, right? I had 2 other guys in mind I felt was okay. Well, there's one. I thought about DJ Moore.
Yeah, definitely thought about him. There's one more guy I was thinking about. I would have gone if Ramondre was still there. I would have gone Ramondre once he was taken. I mean, there's still some running backs I like, but. See what Keith does here. Pittman, interesting.
Keith is he's kind of becoming a 0 RB guy, isn't he? I mean, Dynasty is one thing. I totally get that, but I'm noticing a little bit more and more. He's just slowly. All right, fair question. This is a fair question. Well, I mean, what's your take?
Well, I think you got to think the only spots I would really drop him is probably New England or the Giants. But I really don't think he's going to either of those spots. So I got to think remember, he was going to play with Colt McCoy and Clayton Tune for most of the season, probably. And Ridley was the guy I was debating with Mike Williams. Definitely was the guy there. So I think now I am going to grab my first RB here. Feels like a very good spot for Najee. So I think you're basically buying in to the fact that wherever he ends up should be better than where he was going to be in Arizona, with the assumption that Kyler Murray is going to miss a significant part of the season. So obviously, if he lands in a bad spot like New England or like the Giants, I'd probably drop him more.
What about if he goes to Cleveland? Then what does that do for him and Amari Cooper?
I think it would be great for him because he instantly becomes a number 2 wide receiver, but along with Amari Cooper. It probably hurts Cooper to a degree, but I don't think a lot.
And I really hate picking in the middle. I feel like it's too early to take all of these guys, which I know is not possible, but you know what? All right. Why not? You know, I can mix it up.
Yeah, and honestly, I totally missed Nick Chubb. I would have gone Nick Chubb there. I just totally missed him. I just totally missed him on the board.
And
honestly, like I just so used to him going early, I just forgot all about him. I would have picked Nick Chubb there, but it's fine.
Yeah, and you're not even a Chubb guy at all. But 4th round, I feel like that's fair value.
No, I would have picked Chubb there. I just totally missed him.
Yeah, Stinger definitely hoping D-Hop goes to the Giants. They've been accumulating receivers slowly here and there and tight ends, but I don't see them.
It would be good. It would be good for the Giants, and the Giants certainly need them. But you can't love it in fantasy because they're not a team that's going to throw the ball a ton. Right? They're gonna lean on a fairly good defense, Saquon Barkley. So, but it would be, I still think he'd be maybe drop him down a little, but I wouldn't like plummet him.
All right, we do have a super chat and also a very interesting question. Not fantasy, but betting. Our man Bartermania, he's at the casino right now. So here's your chance to kind of vicariously win all the monies. $100 Super Bowl. Who you got?
I mean, if you just care about not losing your $100, you got to put it on like the Chiefs or the Bengals. But I don't know what the odds are for them. It's probably like you bet 100, you win $5 or $10. Like, you know what I mean? You're better off looking for a team. Like I would think, like let's see, like what's a team that could have that's actually improved quite a bit.
I mean,
it could have lower odds.
The smart money is, I mean, well, I don't know smart money, but the safest bet besides the Chiefs. I mean, Eagles. You think that what they did, just reinforcing it. They were close already. I mean, to me, the Eagles is kind of that safe pick. I know a lot of people like Buffalo. I'm not. I don't see that team winning the Super Bowl. 49ers have the talent. I don't see it happening either. We don't know who the quarterback's going to be. If you want a team that's, I want to say a long shot, but, a team that maybe has what it takes, maybe Baltimore.
So I'm looking at the odds right now. Yeah, I was actually gonna say Baltimore as well. Baltimore's like plus 1,800, plus 2,000. That looks like a good bet to me. If you're like, hey, I'd rather just try to like win some money, not just bet 100 to win a little bit of money.
Yeah. I think Niners are reasonable. I don't know. Personally, I don't see that team winning it all with just that uncertainty there. But, I mean, maybe their defense carries them. Who knows?
I think the Jets, too, because the Jets have a really good defense. They have playmakers. Now they have Aaron Rodgers. They're another kind of longer odd team that I think has a chance. The Lions are at 2,200. They're right behind the Ravens.
I mean,
Dolphins and Jaguars are interesting too. The Chargers as well, if they could ever actually not find ways to blow it. Chargers just find ways to blow it.
Chargers, one of the teams on paper, you feel like they should be a contender, but then you always go back to like, well, it's the Chargers. They'll find a way not to win because that's what they do.
So. Right, they'll be up like third, whatever it was last year, right? Like they'll just be crushing them, and then they'll find a way to blow it. Like this is what the Chargers do.
They've been good at that. Yeah, Chargers going to charge. I mean, look, I don't even say Dolphins because then it's just coming off of the homer pick, but them and the Jaguars, those are some sneaky good picks.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, Browns, if Deshaun Watson now has weapons and they throw it more and their defense, comes together, maybe.
I was going to say Browns too. They have a great defense. They have weapons.
But that's definitely a team known for not exactly being clutch postseason, late season.
Yeah, those are the ones you put the money on, and you just, hey, if I win, that's awesome. If I don't, oh well. Like don't put your money on those teams if you really need the money. Actually, don't really bet on Super Bowl odds if you really need the money. That's my
Well, yeah. If you need the money, then you shouldn't be at the casino, but you're probably good.
Let's see what do we got here. I'm guessing they're all gone. Yes, they are. All right. Well, this seems like a good time to snatch up a QB.
Kirk and Ridley, Ridley, I did for the first time consider Ridley if he fell to me in the 4th. He didn't, and then Kirk was taken in the 5th. You think those guys can both thrive top 20?
I mean, yes, Gibbs, good value there. Very good value on Gibbs there. Yes, but I feel like it's probably closer to each. Like for them both to finish top 20, it's more like a ceiling finish, I feel like. I am starting to think people are a little too high on Calvin Ridley. I think people are getting a little too crazy on Calvin Ridley.
That's what I've been saying. All right, you're up.
Yeah, let's see here.
Yeah, that's the thing. At first, knee-jerk reaction is, oh, remember last time he was on the field. But that was a different team, different situation. Obviously, no physical issues with him. But it almost worries me a little bit more because physical injuries can heal. When guys just make stupid decisions, it worries me because they're probably going to do stupid things again in the future. That's a little more worrisome to me because we've seen some wide receivers, especially as time goes on, they kind of make things worse for themselves.
My thing with Ridley is like we're basically going off of one really elite season and then like I guess half of a pretty good season. And we're using that like just it kind of, I mean, I know it's not the same because Michael Thomas was injured and all that, but it kind of feels Michael Thomas-y to me where it's like, hey, remember 2 years ago how incredible this guy was? And I don't think Ridley's going to be bad. Like, I don't think Ridley's going to be, like, bad. But just everybody just seems so confident that, like, Calvin Ridley is not being drafted high enough. And I don't know. I maybe I'm wrong, but I can't, maybe there's guys I'm not thinking of, but I can't think of too many guys who didn't play football for as long as Calvin Ridley did and then just came back and was, like, just fantastic again. I think Ridley will have some very nice games. But again, we're talking about an offense. You got Evan Ingram there. You got Christian Kirk there. Like, there's weapons. It's not like it's going to be back like it was back in Atlanta where he's going to get just,
right,
peppered with targets. So I think people might be a little too high on Calvin Ridley.
Right. And, the Jags did throw the ball a lot last year, especially toward the end of the season. But again, Matt Ryan, when he was in Atlanta for how long has had just one of the worst defenses in the league back when Ridley was there and had his biggest season. That's the case. They just threw the ball a lot because they didn't at that time really have a great running game or defense, and Ridley was the number one guy. He's going to be kind of sharing targets with Christian Kirk and some of the other weapons they have. I mean, again, I think top 20 is in play, but again, that's like the ceiling. So a third round is too much for me. I feel like Ridley in the 4th is fine.
Yeah, I think where he went tonight is probably about right. I did debate him there with Mike Williams. I just really like, and I know it's easy. You can probably make a lot of the same argument. Well, I mean, you can't say that Mike Williams has ever had an elite season. You can make a lot of the same arguments for Mike Williams. Like, he's very up and down and all that. But I'm okay with that as my wide receiver 3. I think this year we see more ups from Mike Williams based on the new OC. I think we see a lot more ups than downs from Mike Williams this year.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what kind of concerns me with Mike Williams is the fact they drafted Quentin Johnson. And a lot of people, think, well, Keenan Allen finally was getting hurt. last couple of years, he's had some injuries. He's the older one. Maybe they're drafting a receiver to replace him. Johnson profiles a lot more like Mike Williams than Keenan Allen, and Williams has had some injuries himself. We're hearing that he's got some sort of a back issue. I wonder if really Johnson affects Williams a little bit more than Allen. Like, I know they can all coexist this year, and realistically at some point probably they'll all miss time here and there. So you can't predict the injuries, and I'm not saying that Mike Williams is going to get hurt, but I'm a little less bullish on Mike Williams than I was initially, because we were super high on him at first because we thought they were going to get rid of Keenan Allen, right? He was going to be like a salary cap casualty, and then we didn't know they were going to draft a receiver in the first round. So little by little, I'm just a little, more down on Mike Williams than I was. I mean, I think he can still play the role of wide receiver 2 in fantasy as long as it's going to be volatile, right? And you can compensate for that.
That's the thing. See, I think that's the issue here. Most people are scared of that volatility. They don't want that volatility in their lineup. I'm A-okay with it. Give me that volatility. Give me those when he's my wide receiver 3 and he can go off for 25, 30 points on any given week and give me that W. Give it to me. I'm fine with it. I'm totally okay with it. Like 100%.
Like, there's going to be ups and downs, but as long as there are some ups, like there's some players that there is no up. Like, it's just like their ceiling is like 10 points in a week. It's like, and you're hoping they score a touchdown, and without that, or like hoping for 2 guys to get injured in front of them. Like, that's not the kind of guy you want to draft.
No, and most wide receivers are volatile. Like pretty much I'd say all of them. Even Justin Jefferson had some really bad games last year.
That's right.
Like, granted,
panicking.
Like 85% of them were insanely good, but he had like 3 or 4 really bad games. In fact, I remember he had like 2 games in a row that were pretty bad early in the season, and people were wondering, like, should they be trying to trade him? Like, oh my gosh, should we be trying to trade this guy? Oh, you took Kyle Pitts?
Look, finally, I found the sweet spot where the value is. I'm going for it.
I thought for sure I was getting Kyle Pitts here. I was like, okay, I'm gonna get Kyle Pitts here. This is gonna be nice. When
Kyle Pitts, wow, receivers left on the board are Michael Thomas, Juju, and Gabe Davis, then no, you're not getting Kyle Pitts.
Wow. Okay, I was not prepared for that at all. All right. Now I got to pivot.
We've talked about Hollywood a little bit earlier. I'm not all in just because I think this offense is going to be terrible this year. With no DeAndre Hopkins now, no Kyler Murray really for most of the season, I'm going to guess. A new coach. This is the team that right now has, talking about Vegas odds and betting, like who's going to get the number 1 pick in the draft. It's probably going to be Arizona. So I just don't know that I really want too many pieces of this offense, because when you have a few talented receivers that all have similar skill sets, have had similar production, you want the guy on the better team to get better offense. And when we don't know who the quarterback's going to be for most of the season, we don't know what the offense is really going to look like. I'd rather have somebody who's just going to be on a better team. I really think Arizona is just going to be terrible this year.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Hollywood now is more like a floor play.
Yeah.
He'll get the targets to give you like a decent weekly floor. Every now and then he'll find the end zone, whether it's, breaking a couple tackles or just happens to score. But I just think now he's just a floor play. But I still love him in Dynasty. So we talk a lot about Dynasty because he's still only 25. I think he turns 26 maybe like middle of this year. Next year, fully healthy Kyler, no D-Hop. I'm still really high on him in Dynasty. But I think this year he's going to be more like a floor play.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, he's not undraftable. I'm not saying that. Round 6, 7. Okay, but I'd rather have Dotson because I feel like Dotson does have a little bit more of a ceiling.
Yeah, I mean, I like Dotson. To me, is more like, and I like Dotson. I'm trying to get him in Dynasty as much as I can because he's only 23. But I do, you gotta be, even I gotta be a little worried about Sam Howell and Kenny's support. And again, they got Terry McLaurin, they got Curtis Samuel, they got Dotson. they've got weapons. I mean, certainly if Sam Howell, ends up being really good, then Dotson will end up being a great pick. But I am a little for redraft. I think where he's going is fair. I think where Dotson is going is fair for redraft, but I'm certainly much higher on him in Dynasty than a redraft this year.
Yeah, I have to worry because apparently Sam Howell connecting with Diami Brown in OTAs.
Teammate. Is Terry McLaurin and Johanna, are they even at OTAs?
Maybe. Who knows?
That's the funny thing about OTAs. It's this 6-string wide receiver looks great. It's yeah, because the first 4-string wide receivers aren't even there. Or they're there, but they're not doing anything, right? They're off to the side. Oh, man, I debated Kittle when I took White.
I'm going late tight end, it looks like.
Thought maybe he'd make it back to me.
Yeah, I saw something yesterday about Devin Duvernay looking spectacular. He's the best receiver in camp. But the problem is that Odell Beckham wasn't playing. Rashad Bateman was hurt. Zay Flowers is hurt. So he's basically the only receiver that was there. But yeah, they had to make a point of saying how amazing he looked.
Yeah. All right. Well, no point in going tight end now, so I'll go.
I was just eyeballing him. Well, you know what then? Oh, actually.
I still can't get over the fact that you took Kyle Pitts right there.
Yeah. I think, well, look, what was it, round 7? All right. I was looking at Monty, so do I take your guy? Maybe I'll take your guy. It's, whose guy is it too? Is it Keith's guy? Yeah. Maybe.
Oh, man, we're really influencing. You just went Kyle Pitts, Antonio Gibson, back-to-back picks. This is
but to balance it out, I took George Pickens and Nick Chubb, who you pretty much never draft. So,
well, like I said, I would have taken Nick Chubb over Najee Harris. I just didn't look at the board. I didn't look at the board close enough to even see.
Really? So you have Chubb over Najee? That's interesting. In PPR.
Oh yeah, I think you got. As much as I like Najee, I think you got to have Chubb over Najee still.
Even though, yeah, the Browns are going to be more pass heavy this year, we knew that before they even came out and said it. Chubb's pretty much the only game in town. Kareem Hunt's not even there, and not that it mattered that he was there last year because he was barely present. So it's still going to be a lot of Chubb, and he still has, the ability to rip off big runs. Yeah. He's still going to get a ton of touchdowns. So, PPR, no, he doesn't have the ceiling to be the top overall player, but that's okay when you take him as your RB2. Yes.
Yeah, Keith, I think
Keith, you had your chance. Come on. You picked 4 picks before me. You didn't think he was going to last the whole way on the way back, did you? You made your choice. Now you must live with the consequences. And that's Isaiah Pacheco.
All right, so why is George Kittle falling so much in our mocks?
I don't think that it's okay. Well, here's number 1. We still don't know who the quarterback is. we don't. And if it's Trey Lance, is that good for Kittle or is it bad for Kittle? Do we even know? We don't. And then Kittle did start the season really slow last year. He finished strong. There's a couple of monster games. That was with Brock Purdy. We don't know if Brock Purdy is going to play. So there's that. Obviously, the unknown. People don't like the unknown. And then I think Kittle was really a little bit overdrafted last year. And I've already said I was guilty of it. I had too much George Kittle last year. There's just too many mouths to feed there. Because also last year we were drafting Kittle. That was before they got CMC. You have a guy who's the best pass catching running back in maybe ever in the NFL. Yeah, that hurts. And Debo and Ayuk. It's just, he's not the type of tight end who's going to be the focal point of his offense ever. Not anymore. You know what I mean? Those days are gone.
Yeah. And I think, the first thing is it's not just George Kittle that falls in our mocks. Look at the tight ends as a whole. And that's because we've been saying all off season that if you don't get Travis Kelce. And maybe I do believe we could see a Mark Andrews bounce back. But outside of those two guys, I just don't think any tight end is worth drafting early. Even if Kyle Pitts does break out, which, spoiler alert, one of us may believe happens this year. Because even like last year, you look at Hawkinson, he averaged, I think, like 12 per game or 13 or something, or maybe Andrews averaged 13. And the other tight ends average like 12 or 11. They're just not difference makers. Even Kittle. Kittle had those two. Here's what people remember about George Kittle. And I remember this because I had George Kittle in one league. He won me my first round playoff matchup. He won me my second round playoff matchup. That's what people remember. They don't remember the other, however many weeks when he was just like not that good, except for maybe one or two games. And they don't remember week 17 when he wasn't very good either. So I don't think Kittle is look, where Kittle went tonight, I think is great value. I would have gladly taken Kittle over Montgomery if he was still there. No doubt about it. But I don't think Kittle is like some elite, going to be a league-winning tight end or anything. I think he's going to be a top 5 tight end, but a top 5 tight end isn't a league winner.
Right. The big three that has existed, and we all remember a couple of years ago, there have been a couple of iterations of the big three. Remember, it was Zach Ertz and George Kittle and Kelce, and then, Ertz fell off, and then it was Mark Andrews and then George Kittle. And now Kittle's not really up there anymore. I think Andrews could still be there. Some people think Hawkinson. I don't know about that. I don't think there really is a big three. It's just Kelce and then everybody else. And oh man, I was actually set to take Brandon Cooks. Pivot time for sure. Very nice. Yeah, I like Pirine, but I already got Gibson, kind of similar guy, so not sad. I think this is true. Nate is talking. Okay, let's get to Dalvin Cook. I don't think he's been taken.
Okay.
Probably won't get taken. Yes, Dalvin to Miami has been talked to death. They chose not to get Dalvin Cook, trade a third-round pick for him. They chose to use that third-round pick on a running back. It's still possible he goes there. That's where he wants to go because not just that Miami's a good offense for running backs, but also he's actually from South Florida. Jets and Cowboys being mentioned, the Cowboys, that makes a lot of sense. Do you think that if potentially, because they've already pretty much shut the door on Zeke returning, as far as I know, if Dalvin Cook goes to Dallas, how do you feel about Pollard?
I mean, if he goes to Dallas, you got to lower Pollard because now we're kind of looking at, think maybe like Zeke a couple years ago when he was still somewhat productive. Cook hasn't, unlike Zeke, who's complete dust, Cook still has a little bit left in the tank, I feel. He's obviously past his prime, but he still has a little bit left in the tank. So if he goes to Dallas, I think that definitely hurts Pollard. Now, Nate's out in here. I assume he doesn't affect Brees. I'm going to disagree. First of all, if you still believe in Brees Hall this year, after the Jets draft Izzy, and then let's say signed Dalvin Cook or traded for Dalvin Cook, I don't know what to tell you. You're just sticking your head in the sand. La, 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 I can't hear you, right? You're just doing one of these things. It's like the Jets are saying, we don't think Brees Hall is going to be ready this year, and we're trying to do whatever we can. And you're going, nope, not hearing it, right? So I do think if Dalvin, obviously these are all still rumors and we don't know, but if Dalvin did go to the Jets, whether they made a trade for him or signed him in free agency, that's a huge sign to me. The Jets are like, we don't think Brees Hall is going to be healthy, at least not till very, very late in the year, and we need to make sure we have, depth at the position.
Right. Yeah, that exactly. I always say this, especially running backs, follow the money. They'll invest in a guy. There's a reason. That tells you how much they value having that player. So that would definitely mean something. Either way, I don't know if I would go quite that far. I don't think he murders the backfield. I mean, it's not like Brees Hall would be undraftable, But it would definitely be telling. Same thing with Pollard. Pollard might still want to be the better of the two between Cook and Pollard, but you definitely have to lower your expectations then. Did notice Keith, in an attempt to snipe both me and Stinger at the same time, go Nico Collins. That's a shrewd move. Mark, as always, dropping the knowledge here. He knows his Texans quarterbacks.
So Davis Mills is going to make Kyle Pitts a tight end 1. I mean, he'll be a tight end 1 because they'll fit it with Davis Mills because he'll be like the 12th highest scoring tight end, which is technically a tight end 1.
Yeah, good point. A tight end 1, not the tight end 1.
You're just taking all my guys tonight. Have you taken Gallup? Although you've been drafting Gallup for a while, so.
Yeah, I'm coming around on Gallup.
No, I like Gallup. I like that pick. I mean, another spoiler alert.
Stinger saying all his guys are getting taken. I mean, let's see. Mooney, yep, check. Was taking Nico, check. Evan Engram, check. Let's see. Didn't get Trevor Lawrence. Stinger does have a Jaguar, does have Etienne, so I think you're at least safe. Interesting. Wonder if this sounds like something that somebody kind of would just throw out there in the universe.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You gotta take all these rumors and things with a grain of salt this time of year. I mean, we hear all sorts of things, all sorts of rumors. So,
all right. So talking about Cooks and Gallup, because I don't know, I'm okay having either. In draft, I'm drafting a little bit of each guy. I find myself nowadays getting Gallup more because he's just a better value, right? He's going late, which I don't know how much longer that'll last, but I wonder, who do you feel actually gets more targets?
More targets? I could see Brandon Cooks getting more targets, but I could see Michael Gallup doing more with his targets. But look, I could also see Brandon Cooks feels like a very dusty wide receiver to me. His career arc is trending towards very dusty. I mean, you can say what you want about Houston and how bad that offense was, but it wasn't like he had a lot of competition. He just wasn't involved. And that's the sign. I know people like to make excuses. Like, I remember people were making excuses for Julio Jones. Then he went to Tennessee, and it's like, there we go. They don't have any pass catchers. And then he was awful in Tennessee. And then he went to Tampa Bay. It's like, here we go. Okay, there we go. He's got Tom Brady. And then he was awful. And look, Julio Jones is 10 times better than Brandon Cooks ever was.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily a knock on Brandon Cooks. It's just Julio Jones is that good. So I really do worry that Brandon Cooks is dusty. And Michael, okay, I feel like every stream we talk about this. ACL tears go like this. You tear your ACL, you miss the rest of the season. The next year back, the player is probably going to not be very good. They're probably look at last year's ACL guys. Who were they? Michael Gallup, not very good. Chris Godwin, I mean, he had some moments, but really mostly not very good. Who else were the ACL guys last year? Who am I forgetting? Who were some ACL guys last year? I don't remember, but go 2 years back. It was Saquon Barkley, Courtland Sutton, not very good. Then usually the next year is when they bounce back and they're better. That's Michael Gallup this year, right? Michael Gallup was an ACL guy last year. That's Michael Gallup this year. So I could see Michael Gallup bouncing back. Remember, this is a guy year 2 had over 1,000 yards, so it's not like this guy can't do it. I could see him, as the season goes on, becoming the number 2.
Yeah, and I think the thing is, like you said, Cooks more targets, probably more receptions. Yardage might be close, but Gallup, I think, more up and down, which is not a bad thing because he'll have a little bit more of a weekly ceiling. And then the thing is, you get Gallup a couple rounds later. That makes him the better pick because he's the better value. So I think that's the key here. Okay, hold on before I finish that thought. Oh man, I just realized I already have Olave. Now I got 2 Saints. I just handcuffed my own receiver. Oh well. Yeah, Cooks is also what I was just talking about, guys who, wide receivers get that kind of diva syndrome. I mean, wasn't he benched for a game last year or suspended or something because of attitude?
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, there was all that, but the thing I really didn't like was, remember, even before all that, he just wasn't getting the targets. It's not like you can't look at it and be like, it's not like, okay, you look at Kyle, like you want to talk about Kyle Pitts. You can say, oh, he was a disappointment last year, but Kyle Pitts was getting the targets. He was getting the looks. He was even getting looks like down the field. He was getting red zone looks. They just weren't even close to being catchable, right? He couldn't even catch them. Brandon Cooks wasn't even getting the looks. That's the concerning thing, because when you're not getting the looks, it means you're probably not open. Because as bad as Davis Mills is, he's still one of the best 50 quarterbacks on the entire planet. You know what I mean? Like, or 7, like on the entire planet, like, right? Like, just to be in the NFL, like, you're good enough to find open guys. Like, maybe you can't throw it accurately, but you can at least see them and be like, he's open, let me throw him the ball. So the fact he wasn't even getting targets is what worries me. Is like, maybe, and he hasn't done his reception perception yet. Maybe my mind will change when I see that. But that to me is like, okay, why isn't he not getting targets? Like, did he kick Davis Mills' dog or something, or is he just can't separate anymore? He can't get open.
He told him he's no Tom Savage. He took that personally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and normally you'd say, like you were saying, the Julio Jones thing is a good comparison. It doesn't matter what a guy did in the past. Look at why would a team move on from the best receiver in their franchise history? Because he was toast, right? He was done. Well, exactly. Cooks is kind of weird. It's hard to tell because he's already moved around so much. And I think he just wears out his welcome. They just get tired of having him around because he keeps getting traded. He wasn't even cut. It's just like, hey, we'll get this headache out of our franchise just, to get something back. So I think the talent is there. You got to worry because he's getting closer to 30 and he's a guy who relies purely on speed, right? That's his thing. It's his speed. So yeah, there's definite risk with Cooks. I will say that there's definite risk, which is the thing. Yeah, Cooks, you going a little bit earlier than Gallup, so there's probably more risk, and you're paying a little bit higher of a price for that risk. Gallup is going to be less risky than he was last year. So maybe now I'm glad I didn't get Brandon Cooks. All right. And I just know dollar bill and you talking about ACL guys. He's got the all ACL team going on. He's got Breece Hall. He's got Javonte Williams. Let's see who else. Well, you got toe guy Michael Thomas.
Yeah, toe guy Michael Thomas.
Dalvin Cook's been plenty hurt. You got shoulder guy.
You got suspended guy.
Yeah, suspended guy. That definitely some risk with a reward there.
What are we gonna do when Alvin Kamara somehow doesn't get suspended?
Still not draft him?
Yeah, no, still.
Yeah. Oh, you find all sorts of. You don't actually even have to scroll that far to find Ted Ginn Jr. Because I found him before. That's when I know I'm going too far.
I wonder if does Sleeper ever even clear out players, or do they just leave guys in there forever?
I don't think they do. Antonio Brown. I mean, Henry Ruggs is in there.
Yeah, I just don't think they ever clear out players. I mean, I see Lamar Miller. Who else is down here?
AJ Green, Randall Cobb. Oh wait, Randall Cobb's still in the NFL.
Somehow around Chris Thompson, my guy. Theo Riddick, Spencer Ware.
All right, we got not just a super chat, but a hot take here. Derek Carr, league winner. I mean, I hope so because I got top two receivers on my team.
I mean, league winner for like.
You know where I think he could almost be a league winner, and actually, if you stack him, especially late with a guy like Shaheed, because Olave's ADP is pretty high. So I don't know if I can call Olave a league winner just because he is a second round pick now. In best ball underdog draft, you take Carr as your top quarterback and he throws for 4,500 yards and Shaheed has a good season. That could be league winning material because a lot of people are drafting quarterbacks early in best ball. And I've been saying it for years, you don't do that because that doesn't get you in the money. So I think in best ball, it's really smart. If you want to wait and take a chance that Derek Carr, is that kind of guy still, I can see that.
I mean, I think in best ball, it's okay because you don't have to worry about his horrendous games.
Yeah.
Where he gets you like 5 points.
Exactly. Because in your second quarterback offsets that. You don't need to have, look in best ball, you don't need to have a guy who finishes in the top 10. You need a guy who has some top 5 weekly finishes. Just a few, just a handful. And I think Carr can do that. I mean, he's shown he could. Even last year, he did have some big games.
All right, I gotta scroll back up here to the real players. That's interesting.
And then we don't know. Like we have heard nothing. You know how these legal things drag out. It's always a big mystery. So we have no idea. Kamara right now, I'm drafting Kendra Miller because I think he'll probably earn the job. And even if he doesn't have that job week 1, you're looking for who's going to be the better option later in the season. All right, Jamal Williams will probably be the starter week 1. You agree with that?
Yeah. The thing about the Kamara suspension is I think the trial is like late July, early August or whatever the case is. So we'll probably know more around then when it starts picking up steam. And it could be one of those things where maybe he plays the first couple of weeks and then the case settles or whatever, and then he gets suspended. Who knows? You never know with the NFL. You never know.
Never know. All right. Draft is over.
Draft is over.
Just now realizing this. I
just realized we drafted against Fantasy AI.
Did we? Wait, where? Oh, you're talking about number 3?
Yeah, let's see how AI is.
All right. So not Jamarcus Russell, the disguised incognito AI bot. This one just straight up like, hey, I'm AI. Which, by the way, this brings me to another point. Our draft. I didn't mention it at the top, but we have some exciting news too. If you haven't heard, we got an app that will help you with your draft questions because it really ain't too far away. We're going to be drafting.
Yeah.
Chris, you want to get into details about that? Our Draft Lane app.
Yeah, I'll just say download Draft Lane. It's free. Go download it. iPhone or Android. It's awesome.
It's free.
If you play fantasy football, you want it.
You do.
I think it's all of you.
Fast draft tonight. Yeah, no, it was about right. I think it was about right. All right, let's go through the teams here. Alter Nico. Nico's number 1. Went Justin Jefferson. Drake London. Somebody made a comment feeling that's a little early. You think that's too early?
Yeah, I mean, I know I just published my Drake London video, and I know I'm very high on Drake London, but I'm still not taking Drake London at the 212. I think that's like I would take Cooper Watson, maybe Hopkins, depending on where he lands. Probably Mike Williams, probably DJ Moore, probably Keenan. Keenan and Drake London is like around that Keenan range is where I start thinking about Drake London.
Yeah, Nate. Nate very confident in his draft. We'll get to yours. Settle down. Hold on. Your team 11. Well, let's see. Yeah, and it was Keith who had mentioned that earlier. I had a little comment about Drake London because in our dynasty draft, right, building dynasties, and I said what I said is that I feel like London is better in dynasty than redraft because I don't see top 10 upside. So look, it's not a terrible pick, but it's a little early. And then Mahomes, Mark Andrews, McLaurin. So this is pretty much zero RB. He filled in with Miles Sanders. I'm shocked to see that DeAndre Swift fell to the 7th round.
Yeah, that's very good value for sure.
I mean, for the build you have, that's pretty good to get him there as your RB2, I guess technically. Gabe Davis, Bateman, Jamal Williams, Sky Moore, Tyjae Spears, and Rashawn Johnson. So overall, you like it?
Overall, it's okay. Again, we're talking about a 3 wide receiver, 1 flex. So, I mean, I like Drake London. Maybe I should have said in the video like I like Drake London, but I don't think Drake London is going to be a top 5 receiver this year. Now, I get it. He didn't take him as a top 5 receiver, but I think Drake London is solid. Terry, he's like okay. I do think getting Sanders and Swift as your RBs in round 6 and 7, that's great. Now your flex is going to be like Gabe, Bateman, Jamal, Sky, like little weak there. You do have Mahomes and Andrews. I think it's okay. I think it's a contender. I just think it could have been better.
Yeah, for a zero RB build, I feel like you did a good job with your running backs, getting Swift and Sanders, and then Jamal is solid and took some shots on rookies. I mean, that was smart. And then you got stud quarterback tight end. I just feel like for a zero RB build, it was a little reachy on the receivers, Although I look at it in Drake London, he went as the wide receiver 16. Thinking about it, like that really doesn't seem like a reach. I feel like it does look like it on the draft board, but it's not too bad. This is a good team. The depth at receiver is a little iffy. But let's go to Stinger. Did not get all his guys this draft. In fact, I don't think he got any of his guys except for maybe Etienne. But he did get Jamar Chase and went DK Metcalf, Derrick Henry in the 3rd, Etienne in the 4th. Pretty good. Burrow, Elijah Moore, Zay Flowers, Jacoby Myers, Dylan Bigsby, Jaden Reed, my guy, you took him, DJ Chark, and then Chig.
I mean, I mostly like this team. There's not really much I see that I don't like. I mean, maybe a little early on Elijah Moore, but I mean, maybe if you swap like Flowers and Elijah Moore, but that's kind of splitting hairs.
Yeah.
I mean, decent running backs, maybe a little light at running back depth. Definitely, a lot of wide receiver depth. I like Chig late. Burrow's great. I think it's a solid team, even if they're not your.
I think it's very solid. Very solid. This team, I think this team is very solid. I got no issues with it. All right, the AI's turn. Let's see if it's here to dominate fantasy and replace humans. Ty Hill, good pick. Pollard, Cooper, Ayuk, Kirk, and then Pierce, Watson at quarterback. Brian Robinson, Alexander Madison fell to the 9th, which makes me feel like I've been taking him too early. And then Alec Pierce, Mingo, Justin Ross, and then Cole Kmet, last round tight end.
Yeah, I mean, I got to give the AI credit. This is a pretty good team. You got Hill, Cooper, Ayuk, and Kirk at wide receiver / flex. You got Pollard, Pierce as your running backs with Robinson, Madison for depth. And then you got like Pierce, Mingo, and Ross for wide receiver depth, and Kmet at tight end. Watson is your QB. Yep, I think the AI put together a solid squad.
I mean, the only thing that could probably stop this team is maybe Dalvin Cook, kind of squashing Pollard's upside a little bit. But for now, I'd say so far really good. Yeah. All right, but I'm sure Andrea did better. Let's see. Cooper Kupp, Josh Jacobs, Christian Watson, Aaron Jones, back-to-back Packers. Lockett, Trevor Lawrence, Cam Akers. Man, I feel like there's a lot of good running back values today. I don't know. Everyone just went wide receiver crazy or what? Evan Ingram, Mooney. She was making a point to snipe Stinger, I guess. We see Algier, Hodgins, KJ Osborne, and Kenneth Gainwell.
Whoa, Gainwell. Interesting. I mostly like it. I think my big gripe is Aaron Jones. Not that I think Aaron Jones will be bad. I just think Aaron Jones will be fine this year. And when there's running backs still on the board like Etienne, Dobbins, Gibbs, like I'd rather just get one. I'd rather just get one of those guys than a guy like Aaron Jones. Also, wide receiver room is okay. Like I would have just really preferred like you grabbed a wide receiver here and then have Jacobs and Akers as your running backs, and then maybe grabbed another running back later. I think this team would have been a lot stronger in a 3 wide receiver league like that. But that's really my other than that, I think it was a very good draft.
Yeah, and especially, hindsight, it's always 2020. But looking at the fact that you got Cam Akers, who is solid RB2 that late, you didn't need Aaron Jones there. If you would have got a guy like Ayuk or Kirk, this team would have been probably champion, at least from the teams I've seen so far. So, yeah, Aaron Jones the only pick really that has an issue, but really good. All right, and then we are Team 5, Kajar Tanari. CMC, Devontae Smith, Ramondre, Judy, Burks, TJ Hawkinson, Tony and Juju, Damian Harris, Elijah Mitchell, Jerick McKinnon, Terrace Marshall, a little sleeper there, and then the last round pick of Trey Lance.
You don't see those last 2 names very often in these drafts.
Nope.
I think for a team that went 2 running backs in the first 3 rounds, you did okay at wide receiver. Like, I think Judy as your wide receiver 2 is fine. Burks has upside. Tony has upside. I probably would have preferred almost anybody over Juju, to be honest. And then you've got, decent running back depth there. The last 2 picks, okay, might be a little questionable, but, your running backs are strong. I think your wide receivers are at least solid. It really comes down to, does Trey Lance even play this year or not?
Yeah. If it's your last round pick, you can replace. There's plenty of quarterbacks that were left there, so I don't mind taking a swing there. And then look, we rolled Ramondre. That is really, really good as your RB2, and that's fair value for him. He did go a little bit after Henry. Look, you can make a case for taking him before Henry. That's fine. Jason saying he would have gone Stevenson over Henry for Stinger's team, but. And you look until Derrick Henry actually breaks down, I'll keep drafting him there. So let's go to Anthony. All right, Anthony, you went Eckler in the 1.6. That's funny to say. The earliest we've seen him go after being the top fantasy scorer running back last year. T. Higgins, Jalen Hurts, Deontay Johnson, J.K. Dobbins, JSN, Goddard, Connor, and then Brandon Cooks, Zay Jones, John Mechie, Josh Downs. And, you really didn't need a second quarterback when you got Jalen Hurts, but okay.
Yeah, I don't get – I like Anthony Richardson, but I don't really get that pick when you have Jalen Hurts because the goal is you only use Anthony Richardson one time next year. But Eckler, Higgins, I think is a solid start. Again, I'm going to say this with Deontay, and I like Deontay. He just feels like a floor guy to me, and I'd rather just wait a little bit for him, a guy like him, and chase more upside at this part of the draft. I do like Dobbins, JSN, Goddard. I think Connor there, I did pass on Connor twice. I looked at him twice, and I passed on him, but I think there he's okay. Those wide receivers that you finished with, I think, are all fine shots to take late in the draft. And again, I just would have preferred a position player over Richardson. But I think overall this is a solid team.
Yeah, very solid. You could use the 4th running back there, but whatever. Last round, we're not going to criticize that. So very good. I think good values pretty much across the board. Yeah, Deontay is kind of in that weird zone where it's a guy like Judy and Godwin and, players that you feel should be doing better, but fantasy-wise, you have to be a little bit more realistic about their outcomes this year, not go for name value. He's saying it was an error pick. Which one? The Deontay pick?
Okay.
Oh, it happens.
It happens.
Let's go to Dan Campbell. I think there's more to that name, but I can't see it on my screen. Dan Campbell something. Stephon Diggs, Saquon Barkley, D-Hop, Godwin, Marquise Brown, we did talk about. Kenny Walker in round 6, the middle of round 6. Dak Prescott, the Muth, Ryan, Charbonnet, Lazard, Rondale Moore, and Jalen Hyatt.
I mean, again, I'm going to say the same thing. I mean, I just think they're better, more upside wide receivers where you took Godwin. Like Ayuk, Kirk, even Lockett or Burks. I don't know. But I like the Walker value. I think Dak is good there. Freiermuth is fine. I mean, Lazard, okay. I do kind of like Rondale Moore for some reason this year. So I'm kind of with that pick. Yeah, but it's really just like the Godwin pick is the one that's really standing out to me. I just feel like there are better picks on the board right there than Godwin.
Yeah. And just like Deontay, it's kind of that weird, I want to call it a dead zone, but it's hard to gauge who really has the most value. I feel like Ayuk maybe has more upside. I mean, I like Treylon Burks, this, but I don't know that I would take him in the 4th round. I'm not taking him in the 4th round. It's hard. It's hard to decide who you really like. Man, I want to be in on Godwin, but I'm not in on anywhere Kyle Trask is the starting quarterback or Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
And by the way, the fact that we're hearing that Kyle Trask is ahead in the QB competition, does that tell us everything we need to know about Baker Mayfield's career?
I hope we already know everything we need to know about Baker Mayfield at this point. It's not like he's entering year 2 or year 3 here. We should know everything we need to know.
He's not even entering, team 2. He's on team
2. Exactly.
Team 4. I can't keep track. Was he with the Rams at some point? Did that happen?
He finished with the Rams last year, yes.
Okay. I don't know. All right. And then me. I took Bijan, Olave, Debo, and then even though I didn't need another running back, I did take another one with Nick Chubb because Bijan counts as like 2. That's how good he's going to be. Justin Fields, George Pickens, Kyle Pitts, just to snipe you from 2 spots away. Gibson for the reverse snipe. Sutton, Gallup, Shaheed, Foreman, and then some guy named Thornton.
Yeah. Who we don't see drafted very often. Obviously love Bijan there. It's great value. Olave, Debo is good. I think you gotta go Chubb there. I mean, when Chubb is still on the board here, you gotta take Chubb. Fields, very good value there. Pickens, okay, he's got the upside. Go for it. Of course, you did snipe me on Pitts. I guess the Gibson hype is real. I like the value on Sutton, Gallup, and Shaheed there. Foreman, I like that value, and Thornton maybe. So I don't know. I think the worry here is probably going to be like your flex spot, maybe give yeah, going to be the flex here. But if Pitts really does break out and Fields is a top 5 QB, you might not have to care about your flex. So good team.
There you go. Shooting for upside here. Yeah, I mix and match between Gallup, Sutton, Shaheed, maybe. I don't know, but it's not my favorite ever. But again, that 4th round right there, I was like, okay, is there a receiver I really feel good about taking at this spot? And there really wasn't. Ayuk was the guy I almost did pull the trigger on. But then I saw Chubb there and I was like, okay, yeah, I'll just do it. And I already had Debo too. That's why I didn't take Ayuk. I did just have Debo.
Yeah, you got to take Chubb there. No, you got to take Chubb.
All right, Mr. Bill. Let's see what is going on. Assuming everybody on this roster stays healthy. Devontae Adams, Jalen Waddle, like that. Breece Hall, Josh Allen, Dalvin Cook is the RB2. Javonte Williams is the RB3. Alvin Kamara is the RB4. Mike Evans at receiver there. Michael Thomas at receiver. I feel like you're just tempting fate here. Darren Waller is the tight end. I mean,
this is definitely the oldest team.
Experienced.
Very experienced. I mean,
team survive through the playoffs?
I don't know. I really don't know. Yeah. I don't know. A lot like I love the Waddle pick. I think Breece is okay there where you took him. Obviously, Allen, that's great value. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, maybe Breece Hall is an exception, right? Maybe Breece Hall is fine. I'm still taking Najee or Chubb over him at that rate. But look, okay, we can't really condemn that pick. If hypothetically Dalvin Cook to the Cowboys tomorrow Do you like him going there in round 5?
Yeah, I think if he's on the Cowboys tomorrow, I think he's fine there. Yeah.
Okay, so there's hope for this team. There's always hope. Then there's your team. You went with CeeDee Lamb, which at the 10 feels pretty good. Sun God, Mike Williams, got Najee, Lamar Jackson, Jordan Addison. That was a good pick. I would have taken him if you did. So you did snipe me on that one. Rashad White, good pick. Monty, Kendre Miller, and Njoku at tight end, and then Van Jefferson, OBJ, and Mostert. So, I mean, your receivers are rock solid. And I do feel good. I feel like Addison's a guy you can just kind of keep in your lineup all year and he'll be fine. So love that pick. Najee, Rashad White should be good. And based on you kind of I can't call it an anchor RB team because you took Najee in the 4th round, but you went RB2 late, which is good. And so you have several guys who could be your RB2 with White, Monty, and Miller. So I like it. I mean, there's really nothing I can criticize here.
Well, I appreciate that. I feel like this team is okay. I feel like the first half of the draft was good. The second half was just kind of okay. My depth could definitely be an issue on this team, but yeah. I feel like it's good, but not my best.
Yeah, I mean, there's always room for improvement. I'm going to skip this question. By the way, I know we have some comments. Dante Foreman was my last RB pick, and I did decide to take him instead of Rashawn Johnson. Who are you taking right now? Foreman, you think that he's going to be the starter just because he's the vet?
I don't know. If I'm going to draft one of the Bears running backs, I'm probably just going to take Rashawn. Well, who's going later, Rashawn or Foreman?
It kind of depends. I feel like the ADP says that Foreman's going higher, but some people will take Rashawn earlier. Just depends.
Yeah, I'll probably just take whichever one falls.
Yeah. I like this. This is a tardy RB strategy.
I don't even know what that means. Are these running backs late?
Not late, just a little bit late. Like you're not late enough that you get ridden up, but just slightly like after the bell, like you're tardy,
okay.
Like 5 minutes. So like a round or two later than, yeah, that's good. All right. Here's Nate. He wants to know, where is it? There we go. He wants to know how much he's going to win this league by. All right, let's see about that. Took Garrett Wilson. All right, took Jonathan Taylor in round 2. DJ Moore, Calvin Ridley in round 4. Dotson, a lot of noise about Dotson lately. Mixon in round 6. James Cook, Khalil Herbert, the other Bears running back, and Devin Ashane. How did Ashane fall to round 10? Is it because of the whole Dalvin Cook noise? Is that what it is? Now everyone's worried that Dalvin Cook's going to Miami?
I guess so. I thought about him when I took Kendre, but I just took Kendre instead. But I did think about him when I took Kendre.
And then he took George Kittle at a really good spot there, right before you. So that's a good spot. And then DPJ Mims and Tua at quarterback. I mean, it's a pretty good team.
Yeah, it's a pretty good team. I don't feel like it's as good as I was expecting based on the how much am I going to win the league by comment, but I think it's a good team. I mean, Kittle is fantastic value. The wide receivers are very good. Running backs are solid. Got Tua. I think it's probably I think it's the best team we've seen so far, but I just don't feel like I feel like there's been a lot of competitive teams, but I feel like this team is the best team so far, but I don't feel like it's blowing people out of the water. Maybe this team in fantasy AI.
I do feel like to some extent this is bait to see if I'll say it's the best team just because you took Tua, but I think, look, you got some really good values here. Taylor at the 2-2, Mixon at the 6. Your running backs, you got really good values on. Your receivers are very solid. Got some weekly upside. Kittle was a great value. So I do think this is one of the top contenders. I will say that. All right. And then we got, last but never least, is Keith. Drafting at the 12, just like in our Dynasty League. So he went running back list, just like he's been doing in Dynasty. He went Kelsey, A.J. Brown, Michael Pittman, Keenan Allen, Justin Herbert for the stack there. And then Jahmyr Gibbs, Quentin Johnston, got a pair of Chargers receivers to go with Herbert. And then went Pacheco, and by missing out on Gibson, Rashad Penny, Devin Singletary, Jalen Warren, and then took Nico Collins late, and Jameson Williams, who, even though I'm not really drafting, I do feel like at least at that point, is a good value.
Yeah, I think at that point he's fine. I really like this team. I say maybe the one thing I would change is instead of Pittman, because I think Pittman will be okay, but it's hard for me to see Pittman having a big ceiling with Anthony Richardson this year. I think if Pittman was Ridley, I think I'd really love this team. I mean, you'd have A.J. Brown, Ridley, and Keenan Allen as your wide receivers, Herbert and Kelsey at QB and tight end, Gibbs, Pacheco at running back, and then your flex is something but, Penny for how many games he stays healthy, Nico, Singletary. Maybe by the time Penny gets hurt, Jameson is coming back. I don't know. But I do think this is also a very, very good team. I definitely think it's one of the contenders.
Yeah, Pittman's a guy we're just going to keep struggling with. I just don't know because he should have a huge target share, but this is make or break for him in Indianapolis, honestly. If he doesn't step up and prove he is the wide receiver one, they're going to move on. They didn't commit to him, at least not yet. I don't know if they will. And if he doesn't get that chemistry with Anthony Richardson early on, yeah, this could be too early, but it's too early to say if it's too early. And then I want to go to this comment because Cade says he's drafting this weekend. Wow. Tips for an 8 to 10 man draft with the first pick.
Take Jefferson first. Get in this shallow of a league, bench is not nearly as important. I mean, I'm not saying forget your bench, but make sure you get an elite quarterback. Make sure you get a high-end tight end. Get studs everywhere. There's going to be plenty of guys on the waiver in an 8 to 10 man league. Like, don't worry about I need, lock in your starters first and foremost, and then worry about the bench.
And then as far as position, you don't want to go in besides your first pick where you're taking Justin Jefferson, saying, take a running back second, take this third. But as far as quarterback or tight end in that format, I mean, doubting Travis Kelce makes it back to you, at the 2, 8 or 10, whatever you have. But aside from that, you're still waiting on tight end because you can, right?
I mean, a little bit. The thing is, in this kind of format, you don't want to you never know when people are going to take 2 tight ends. You don't want to be at a huge disadvantage at a position.
Yes, that's true. You never know.
So, I'm not going to reach for a tight end, but I'm going to definitely want to get I wouldn't mind starting. I mean, Jefferson, and then if you could get a Jacobs or a Pollard or a Henry, whoever you like there, and then maybe even get a quarterback because in this format, I mean, I don't know, unless you guys have really deep rosters, which most 8 to 10 man leagues don't, but maybe you do. Maybe you start 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 2 flexes. Then forget what I said and depth matters. But assuming you're in a typical 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 tight end, 1 flex league, especially in an 8 to 10 man league, you need studs everywhere. You need to be loaded.
Yeah.
So don't be scared to take tight ends or QBs a little earlier if it means you get a stud.
Right. So I will say Kelsey's there, of course, you take him, no questions asked. Other than that, I don't want to be necessarily the next guy to take a tight end, but I don't want to be the last guy to take a tight end.
No.
Because I don't want to be starting Darren Waller in an 8 or 10 man league, or Evan Ingram is fine, but he's more fine in a 12-team league. So, don't be afraid to get one of these mid-round guys, unless everyone's taking them crazy early. Don't draft Dallas Goedert in the 3rd or 4th round. But, get somebody like that or take a shot on Pitts or whatever. And then quarterback, I think you can wait. I really think you can in that shallow of a league. But see what the board gives you. That's always about value, right? So
exactly.
All right. Good to know as we close now, Chris. Crystal clear now. Okay. That's it. We're done for tonight. We'll be back again with more mock drafts. So if you haven't joined already, join the flock. You can get your spot nice and early, like some of these guys did. Flockfantasy.com/endgame. And you can join us in a Dynasty league. In fact, I'm going to go back right now to the other sleeper league and see if I'm on the clock yet. So let's go check that out. All right, guys. Thanks for watching.